And welcome back to another part of the tutorial. We're going to continue where we left off last time. So today we'll give the whole thing volume and make it fit her body. So we did almost all the work yesterday. There are just a few issues that I want to fix, as for example, this edge here that sticks out, and a few uneven areas. These are pretty good. There is not much you can do wrong here. But over here we have some issues that we should fix if possible. Now, something I would like to do is this here. I'm just going ahead and try it. I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I'll just try. So if you select the other one, you'll fill with this color. And using this, I can also now make this less sharp, this part. And then you have also up here, a straight loop, nothing weird. So also I'm smoothing these areas a little bit with Vortex Smooth. Let me display my keys again. It's here, this tool. I press Q because that's my custom shortcut. You'd have to set that in your settings if you like that. So it looks already a bit better. Now up here we have still a problem though, but if we maybe do this and hope that it works, we might get everything back to quads. Just not sure if this is a good idea. So the loops are continuous, that's good. Alright, let's just leave it as it is. If anything goes wrong, we can still come back later. Alright, and now it's time to give this whole thing volume. Give me just a second, I'm checking a few last details. Thinking if this might be an issue. Alright, we have to do one more thing, a very last thing. I'm going to rip this area open with we and then connect things. And so I guess this one I can remove this loop, then continue here, and over here I'll rip this open as well and delete this loop and connect this to here. So that's just an edge that we forgot in the last part that we had to fix, or else we'd run into trouble. And with that done, we will now go ahead and add volume, and I'll show you in a second how to do that. So first of all, let's switch back to the first and the second layer both, so that we have, so that we see both of them. And we're now going to just select everything in edit mode. Well, I'm going to make a copy first of all and move it just to the third layer, or something we don't use, just in case we mess up, so that we have something to go back to. So select everything here and use shrink and fatten, and just raise the level of everything a little bit, not too much though. It's okay if a few areas stick through. That's just because we didn't perfectly capture the surface of everything, and there are some that were a bit higher and some that were a bit too low. So we went somewhere in the middle, and now we're going to just raise the ones that are too low a little bit, so that we really nicely covered the entire surface. Also keep in mind that cloth doesn't always stick perfectly to the skin, so in some areas where there is an overhang above, or I don't know, there are a few situations where cloth is a bit away, has some distance here, for example. I'm pretty sure here you'd want to have a bit of a distance, but at the same time not over here. This should again be rather close to her body. Something like this. Now let's do the shoulder. Rather with a large radius of influence. Okay. You might want to take a look at the different areas and see if they're really, if you really are happy with the shape, or whether you might want to change something. So you might want to smooth things a little bit here and there, since I can understand that if you place this many vertices by hand, things can go a bit wild and you might have to do a lot of handwork, even though Blender has really amazing tools for fixing many situations very fast, automatically. But you know, in some cases you still have to do it by hand. So I'm comparing now with what I had before, so I'm doing a few steps, and I think I'm wondering at which point I was the happiest with the result, because I might have made it a bit worse at the end. So I'm going through, but it might also be good. So I'm sticking with the newest version, but I'm doing a little change just over here. So that I'm happy with it again. Alright, let's leave it as it is for now. There are a few chances later on to fix these kind of things again. And the next step will be to once again use shrink and fatten on everything to raise it a little bit more, and you will see then in a second why we're doing that. Just make sure that nothing is sticking through, just for sake of doing it properly. And then once you're done with all the corrections that you want to do, raise it, and for example look it down here. So this is exactly where you want your level to be right. So I raise it a little bit. You should raise it about as much as the, as it is thick, this piece of cloth. So over here I'm trying to figure out a good amount. So it's going to be around this thick probably. And then I'm adjusting all the other parts that are here running into, just to make sure that it looks correct. Right, now let's add a modifier to it. It will be the solid fill modifier, and you have a couple of choices. You can either put it at the end or put it before. Depending on where you put it, you will get different results, smoother ones. Normally if you put it after it, it looks more solid. So, and cloth is something rather solid, not smooth, as if, it's not really something smooth. That's just it. So you might want to also place it behind subdivision surface. And now you can see that we have already something pretty good looking. There are just a few, well, obviously we messed something up pretty badly here that we definitely need to fix. So deactivate clipping so that it can drag these vertices apart again. Then it's a bit hard, but you need to find out which ones don't belong to the center and get them out of there. And over here there's some problems as well. I don't know how that happened. Oh, probably when we are doing shrink and fattening. So let's try to get this even again. I'm going to use clipping on, and I'll just smooth it, and afterwards correct these two. This should work. And up here, I want to think well about my selection, and then you can also try smoothing it, but be careful still. This is a bit dangerous to touch these areas. Oh no, so many issues this time. Yeah, we got no choice but to go through this. So just figure out one by one where there is a problem and correct it. As I said a couple of times, vertex smooth is always a good help, but you need to adjust things afterward, definitely. So this here is kind of okay. And then over here, that's the last big issue. Let's just check quickly if that's really the only area that was affected. Yeah, looks like everything else is good. I'm not entirely sure why it happened here. I mean, normals and everything should have been okay, but it still seems like something went wrong here. So move them to their original position, and soon you should be good. It's kind of important that they are flat again, so when you're done they should pretty much line up in a line. So you can see I'm not doing this perfect, but at this rate it's okay. The rest is smooth and it works pretty well. And we took care already of this one. Yeah, let's leave it. So there we go. You know what we could do, that's up to you to decide. You could just smooth everything once, then you would get this kind of look. Or keep it and it looks a bit sharper, but that's more difficult. So depending on your skill, if you're really not happy with what you got, you can just smooth everything once and lots of your problems will be solved, but of course you sacrifice, again, quite a bit of the detail that you worked on. Yeah, and I'm happy with it. That looks pretty good. Maybe over here, one last thing. This kind of sticks out, so let's see if we can make it disappear in the surface. Yeah, that looks a bit better. To me, at least. Alright. Now, next thing is, if you take a look at the reference, well, you can't see it really, or maybe you can. These are kind of different layers, in my opinion. Either you'd have kind of seams, or you would have give them different heights and the volume would be kind of changed. So you have to decide on which one you want to use. One thing is just make sure these ones touch. That's kind of important because they have no reason to be in there. So perfect. Now, yeah, what I was going to say, I will demonstrate it quickly here. I'm going to select this whole area, so Alt and right click for selecting a loop. And that's also one of the reasons why we focus so much on creating these loops, because it makes things easier. Then with Control E and select loop in a region, you get this entire part, and then you can just extrude it inwards, and you will get this. Now, a bit of a problem is the direction in which you extrude to, so you can see you have some problems. So let's do it again, but this time extrude it and press right mouse button to leave it where it is, and then you shrink and fatten, of course without proportion editing on, and with a little bit inwards. That way every face will be moved inwards from its own, along its own normal, and that way you get a result that is a lot better. Now here we have again a bit of trouble with the space between skin and cloth, and you don't need to fit it exactly on everywhere, but you have to decide on where you want it and where you don't. There can be reasons for not having it, but not here. So same thing goes for this one. This one is rather easy. So extrude, right click, and shrink and fatten without proportion editing inwards, about this much. Looks perfect. Now next area is this here. Here it is a bit more complicated. Well, a little bit. We just have to select these two loops and then same thing again. But you can see we're already here going through intersecting with the other mesh, so let's raise this entire part a little bit over here as well. And also the silhouette sometimes shows you pretty good some problems. I mean, if there are problems to you, but you find out a lot about the thing that you model by looking at the silhouette. For example, here you can see all the bones that have this kind of ramp at their ending. I don't like that so much. So I'm kind of trying to fix it, but there is not too much I can do about it. Sorry. So we have now done most of the areas. There is one last area left, the large one in the front. That is a bit challenging, but you know, just select this part, and here you will have to select the second one, here a third one. Make sure that you're always going along the right line, the correct one. So once you have that, again, Control E, select loop in a region. If everything went well, you should have just deselected. If the selection is larger, then you have most probably some then something it might not be selected properly. So with that selected, press E, extrude it, and then inwards. And let's just hope that it works right. Let's see. So the distance we extruded was good. Was it too deep maybe? Maybe a little bit too deep. Let's try to redo this. Oh no, we have to do the selection again. Okay, but I can do that quickly. That's alright. That should be it. So This time we'll get a little bit closer so that I can compare the heights. Extrude it and a little bit inwards. About this much. And now adjust it the way we always do. And make good use of the radius of influence by rotating the scroll wheel. That helps. Now we have a few issues still over here because we're using the solid fill modifier, and if it's too thick it pushes through the other side, so you might want to use a little bit less thickness, just so that nowhere anything sticks out. And if you're not happy with the sharpness of this, for example, that's what we do control with those extra loops that we position all over the place. So come closer and it gets sharper. And then for the width, this does what I want. This was one of the things that kind of caught my eye. But now it's done. This piece looks pretty good. It should be rather good with deformations. I mean, considering how complex this piece actually is, I'm pretty sure that it should do great with all kinds of deformations. Now, one thing you might want to do is, for a second, just delete the second material so that everything has the same. Just so you see what your real structure looks like. The color can be kind of irritating. And if you were to reprint it, you would see this, not anything else. And I do see some things that I want to change. So actually I'm going to just select color 1 here as well, so both have the same material. Later we'll change it back. And now I can take some time and fix these kind of things. Because if we really would print it, just saying, this would really stick out. And that's not a lie, so I really do want to shape it properly and make sure that there is nothing unnecessary that sticks out. And you can see how this has bumps in it. We need to do our best to reduce those to the best of our abilities. It's a bit better already. Now it's almost perfect. And you can also notice how I'm rotating the view a lot. And here I'm going to separate these two loops to give the surface more smoothness. Now it's pretty good. Now another situation is here, even though I'm not sure if this couldn't be just because of what's below. So we might want to try to move it a little bit down, but we might not have so many options here. But you can see we have a little bit of space we don't use, and it looks already quite a lot better. So these were the things that annoyed me, but it looks pretty good now. Very pretty. Once again, by moving these closer, you get sharper edges. So I was just a bit unhappy with the smoothness of the edge. So bring this closer helps it. You really have to try to see your mistakes and not to be frustrated about them. Instead, be happy that you can see them and play around with it until you fix them. That's a really good strategy that works with many different things. Great, awesome. At this point, I'm really happy. I actually went through all of this already once while I was not recording because I wanted to try it. and it didn't turn out so well. So the second time I kind of learned from my first try and applied some new techniques, and it indeed does look better this time. So it's definitely a good technique. Now we can switch back the material, and there you have it. This is your first part of cloth that we're going to give her. Here it is alone. We can actually, Alex, because it looks kind of cool, if we also move this to the second layer with all the parts, you can just take a look at this alone, and it's pretty good in my opinion. Give these just a few materials, I know. So there it is. That's a pretty good costume and cloth in my opinion. And here is the character, and that on top looks like that. Nice. Thank you for watching and sticking with me in this tutorial series until now. It has been long, really long. Here's the reference. Oh well, that's the wrong one. Just to take a quick look. Yeah, next time we're going to... There isn't so much left to do. We have the coat, we have these parts of the pants, and the scarf, and that's actually it. Of course we have also the shoes, but they are not in reference, so it will be modeled separately. But that makes 3 objects, 2 of them rather simple, the other 2 rather complex. Couple of parts. But you think it's over already? Definitely not. It will be long. This will not end. Have a good day. I'm not going to bother you any longer in this video. See you next time. Bye.